In this video, we're going to go over the topics that are covered in Chapter 6. So Chapter 6 focuses on a topic called thermodynamics, which focuses on the heat that's transferred in chemical reactions. So we're going to talk about what is heat, what is energy, and what is work in the introduction to thermodynamics. And we're also going to talk about the first law of thermodynamics, which is the conservation of energy. Then we're going to look at heats of reaction, which are basically a way of measuring the amount of heat that's transferred from a reaction. And we're going to look at how we can measure work, which is basically the amount of force a reaction applies over a period of time by looking at what we call pressure volume work. So this is what would make a piston in a car engine work, for example. And then we look at thermochemical equations. So this is where we start to apply our knowledge of heat transfer in reactions to the number of moles. So we make a link between heat transferred and the number of moles, and then we can go into stoichiometry. So in the latter part of the chapter, we go into the next major topic, which is calorimetry, and this is really important. This is how you would go into the lab. Calorimetry is how you would go into the lab and actually measure heat transfer. And typically this involves something called a calorimeter. The last part looks at how we can use heats of reaction, which is a little bit different from calorimetry. So calorimetry is an experimental way of coming up with the amount of heat that's transferred by a reaction per mole. With Hess's law and with the heats of formation, we can use data that's in textbooks or books to calculate on paper the delta H for a reaction, knowing the products and the reactants. So that takes you through what's covered in Chapter 6, and now we're going to look at what's available on Blackboard. Well, in Chapter 6, we have our drills and solutions, and we have our slides. And in Chapter 6, we also have a calorimeter simulation that allows you to work with a real calorimeter, and you can change different parameters to explore what actually winds up happening to the data that you get, the delta T you get. And we also have an energy transfer and calorimetry simulation that you can work with as well. So these are the things that are available to you, and when you get into calorimetry, you may want to check out these simulations because they help to explore the concepts that we talk about in class in a more visual perspective. So you can actually go and see a simulation of a calorimeter and play with the different variables and see how it affects the data.